And hello everyone, Lights and Gear is back with another product review, and I have another flashlight from the folks at Astrolux to talk about today. If you look through my reviews, through my videos, you will see 2 or 3 other Astrolux flashlights of the past recent months. One of them was actually this particular one here. We did talk about the FT02 not long ago. And this actually is one of its cousins, which have been released since. This is the FT03. So here we have the Astrolux FT03. And as the box says, this particular light is a neutral white, although the beam to me looks a little more on the cool white side, but they did stamp the box as neutral white, so I guess I'll go with that. But irregardless, this is the FT03, and it's a larger flashlight than the FT02. So as we lift open the box, which is quite similar to many of their other products of the last year or so, we do have the manual here, which is pretty good and does a lot of explanations as to what the flashlight can do, because it has 2 different programmable modes, as many an Astrolux flashlight has. So we'll talk about that in due course here. And there's also a little package here with some spare equipment. I have opened it, of course. So here you have the lanyard, pretty standard lanyard, which is adjustable. And there's also a couple of spare O-rings here. The box is a little sparse on accessories, but Astrolux does not put out a very expensive product, so they do save some money by not including too many extras. One of the only other accessories in the box is this adapter, which will take an 18650 battery if that's the kind of power source you choose. And here is the flashlight. It's USB rechargeable, but as you can see, they do not include a cable, a charging cable. And in fact, here's the port on the other side of the switch. And in this particular case, they do use a USB-C. So, the flashlight is just over 6 inches long, and it's of reasonable weight. And as far as the body of it, you can tell here, if possible, that it does have some nice knurling on the bottom part of the barrel, so it's easy to hold. It's very easy to grip. It has the switch right here, as we've already looked at, and the charging element on the other side. Here is the LED, and it's a very smooth reflector and a very deep reflector, so you'll get extremely long throw on this light. The LED provides up to 2400 lumens and has a candle power of almost 200,000. The beam throw is 875 meters. That's well over 1,000 feet, or it's about it's around 900 plus yards. So the throw is pretty intense. Now the battery situation, as you can see, the bottom is flat, so it tail stands very well. And as far as batteries are concerned, you can actually use 3 different sizes. A standard 18650, as I mentioned before, would fit inside this tube. There's also a small base tube. I don't have one right here on me, but there's a small base tube you can buy, which would accommodate a 21700 battery. But the recommended battery in the light is a 26650. So you can use one of these, which I happen to, which fits beautifully inside the tube. 26650 doesn't provide you with any higher brightness, but it provides longer run time usually because of the size of the battery. They do have higher capacities than some of the other, than 18650s anyway. Now, as soon as the light as soon as this is turned on, as soon as this is connected, you will get a green indicator here in the switch, and that'll at least tell you the light is in standby. It does say in the manual that there is a small amount of power that's used, of course, by the indicator being on all the time. As soon as you turn the light on, the indicator goes out, but remains on as long as the light is off. You can, however, as with most of these lights, perform a little press of the switch like that and turn it off. There's also a lockout feature on the light, so you can click the button, I believe it's 4 times in a row, and lock the light out, and of course that turns the button illuminator off as well. So you can do that a couple of different ways. So I think, as I may have briefly mentioned before, the flashlight has 2 different user interfaces, and the first one, or the one that you will get immediately once you turn the light on, is a ramping. So that is the default. If you change to what they call the mode set UI, you'll be able to go through, you'll be able to select a whole bunch of different types of settings, of course, which would be more of a standard flashlight, such as moonlight, low, medium, high, turbo, etc., etc. So you can choose all the regular settings by changing the user interface. But initially, it is set to ramping. So let me turn out a light here so we can just get a better idea of the beam. And I should also mention that as part of the ramping operation, you will get a number of other nifty little services, if you will. It does have instant access to the lowest mode, to the highest mode. It also has a momentary mode, whereas by pressing the button like this, you will get only turbo, and it'll be almost like a tactical. As soon as you press the button like that, you'll get turbo, but it'll only be on for as long as your finger's on the button. As soon as it's released, it'll go off. There's also a battery indicator, a battery voltage meter as well, if you will, and so forth. But as I was going to do a moment ago, let's turn off the light and take a look at the beam, which is extremely focused. Looking at it like this, it's almost like the moon or the sun, that it's so round and very, very tight. However, as the camera will not be illustrating too well, there is, well, there it is, there is a fair amount of spill around the center, but the center is so focused. And now as I press and hold the button, of course it will ramp up, and if I just keep my finger on it and keep going, it'll give a soft little blink as it reaches the top output. So this is the top output right now. Now there are a few rings around the very perimeter of the beam, as you can see here. You can make those out. Personally, I'm not that fond of those rings, but in outside use, you're not going to notice them. Only indoors are they more pronounced. But right now we're on the top mode level. Now, of course, if I press it, it's going to start going down again, and you can go back and forth as you can with many ramping lights. As long as you keep doing it quickly, you can keep going back and forth if you so desire, and of course stop it wherever you like. And it goes down to the lowest level right here, like this, which is pretty darn low. Now, one of the settings it also has within the within ramping, there's also a setting where you can choose, or I'm sorry, that's not within ramping, that's within the special section, that's within the selectable user interface. You can choose between 7 levels of moonlight. So I'm not sure which one this is on right now, but the default is I think the 4th setting, but you can have it go very, very low or a little bit brighter. So 7 levels of moonlight are available to select from if you want that. Strobe is actually disabled, when you first get the light. So by default, strobe is disabled, but you can enable it, and I actually have enabled it within the ramping section. You can enable strobe, and to get to it you just double click. There it goes. And it also has other modes of strobe as well, but you have to click to them quickly or else it just remembers the first one that you went to. I can go to strobe like this and then click again, and then I get sort of like a police, there's a police strobe, there's a bike strobe, and there's also 2 different beacon settings. So those are what you can select from if you want to go through the strobe levels. First you have to enable them and then choose how you want them to present themselves. Now, as you may have seen before, if I double click from anywhere, I get to the highest mode. So here's the highest by double clicking, whether it's already on or whether it's off. And a simple press will turn it back off again. Now, if I want instant low or instant moonlight, I just give it a quick little press like that, a quick holding press for about a half a second, and it produces the very lowest mode that it has itself enabled to at any time. So that's that. And again, a simple press will turn it back off again. Now, it does have mode memory, and mode memory is enabled right away by default. So you saw there that I was in the very lowest mode for a second, but then I can turn it off and turn it back on again, and it'll go back to the last setting I was on before I started fiddling with it. So it will remember that in mode memory, separate from actually choosing turbo or low in the meantime or whatever, or strobe, which is nice. So it won't erase the last mode it was on. So that's kind of cool. Now, if you want to take a look at the manual, I have a link to that. I have a link to that in my written review, which is at lightsandgear.com. So there is a link to the manual, and from there you can check, of course, and see what all the different settings are within what they call the mode set. And it's very, very extensive. So let's actually take the light outside right now and see what we can see what kind of trouble we can do with it out there. Pretty cool, huh? It is. It does have tremendous throw, as you can see from those shots on the trees. And if you visit my written review at lightsandgear.com, of course you'll get a peek at a couple more. The manual, which I have, right here, I've actually enlarged it because I showed you how small it was inside the box, but I did print it out. So here it explains, of course, all those different modes I was talking about before, and it does go through all the different settings here as far as what you can do with it on the mode set. So it's laid out a little differently than most flashlights, so it's a little hard to tell what lumen you're actually getting out of each output, and they don't actually list runtime either. So those are some of the things that are a little different about this light than of most flashlights. And on another part of the, I can actually show you the other part of the manual since it might be easier to see. But as far as the special modes are concerned, it does tell you, of course, how to change into them. You can also change if the light does an automatic step down and how it does that. You can change whether you want it to react to the temperature of the light or whether you want it as a timed feature. And there are just so many other things you can do. You can take mode memory on or off. It talks about the different modes here that are available as part of the strobe. So it's a very intense flashlight, a serious flashlight for someone who needs a very focused and intense beam, and getting to work with the advanced operation of it. It takes a little bit of practice. If you're not familiar with this kind of light, you'll have to read through the directions very carefully and just work with it, and eventually you'll be able to get it. But it may take a little bit of time for you to actually figure that part of it out, if that's what you want to do. You can certainly leave it in the ramping section. You can leave it just as that and use it just as it is. But it is a very cool flashlight. It was provided by my friends at Banggood. Of course, there is a link below if you'd like to pick one up at Banggood. And there's also the same link within my written review if you want to take a look at it there. The Astrolux FT03. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Leave me questions or comments below. Check out lightsandgear.com for the full review, pictures, and links. And thanks for watching. We will see you next time. Take care.